and experiences about mediums. And then I got turned on to this fascinating book called Journey of Souls. And it talked about taking people in between lives. It was actually called Life Between Lives. And soon after that, I became a hypnotist and I met Paul Aurand, our guest. I loved Paul's teachings and quickly incorporated them into my practice. It wasn't until I got to know Paul at the Mid-America Hypnosis Conference that I found out he had a near-death experience when he got hit by lightning. And I also found out that he was the president of the Michael Newton Institute that took people back to Life Between Lives and taught you how to do that. I am honored and grateful and definitely excited to introduce our guest, Paul Aurand. He's a friend and an award-winning hypnotherapist. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Randy, and thank you all our viewers today.
Yeah, welcome to all the viewers. So, hey, if you're on the show, I want to welcome you. Welcome to the Facebook Live show. Welcome to the Randi Light Experience. And if you're new to this show, you're probably wondering who I am and what's going to be happening today. So those are great questions. Let me answer a couple of them for you. My name is Randi Light, and I'm a peak performance coach. I'm a hypnosis instructor and a healer. And for the past 11 years, I have hypnotized thousands of children and adults to break through whatever is in their way so they could be their best version of themselves. I am also the author of The Essential Four and the creator of the Essential Four system. It's hypnosis combined with coaching, and it gives you everything you need to get from where you are to where you want to be and to be able to manage your state. And why is that important? Because when you learn how to manage your state, you reduce stress, you can be more confident, skyrocket your business. And the Essential Four is the protocol or the system to get you from where you are to where you want to be, so you can be in that peak state whenever you want and wherever you want. And because my guests and myself both have really cool things to share, techniques and fun experiences, you'll always have an experience on the Randi Light Experience. It will help you get relaxed and focused on the outcomes you want from the show and for your life. So how does that sound? Guys, once again, I am super excited for our guest today. Paul Aurand is a world-renowned, award-winning master hypnotherapist. And I'm even more excited because after Paul was struck by lightning in 1998, his resulting near-death experience propelled him on a search for a way to replicate the experience without the trauma. And if you want to learn more about his groundbreaking work in near-death experience and Life Between Lives, then this show is for you. So in just a moment, we're going to get into the show. But before we do that, I want to encourage you, if you're listening live or even listening to that recording, hit that like button. Hit the love button. Send some of those bubbles across the screen right now. We love them. And comment. When you comment, it lets Facebook and YouTube know something is happening, and you get involved. If you've got questions, we can answer them for you. So leave comments. And one more thing I'm going to ask you to do is to share this. If you know someone who's had a near-death experience or recently had someone who passed on, this show can really help them. So share this with people who would want to know more about near-death, Life Between Lives, anything like that. And that's it. And now we get into the show. I want to just welcome some of the people who said hello. Eve said hello. Joshua, he says hi. Natalie, a bunch of people. I guess there's like 12 people watching right now. So I don't know if they're your friends or my friends, but welcome to the show.
They're our friends.
Yay, they're our friends. Paul, oh my gosh, I am so excited. So would you start with sharing your near-death experience? Because that is the coolest thing. I mean, sort of.
It was actually a really hot thing, 150 million volts burning through my body. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was already doing this work, but it really refocused me. It was a super transformational experience. I was at a swim meet for my son at a small lake. So we were outdoors, and the swim meet was delayed because there was thunder in the distance. It was delayed a second time because of more thunder. It was sunny. It wasn't raining. There was no signs of a storm. I was a bit annoyed that we had to wait for the swim meet to begin. And my youngest son, Aurand, who was 3 then, got a bit antsy and wanted to go. So we walked up the hill to the car, and I was ready to leave. I was putting the beach chairs and cooler into the car. And as I was doing that, I didn't know what it was, but the most unbelievable explosion, flash of white light, the loudest sound I've ever experienced. And I began to be electrocuted. It was later that people that saw it happen saw lightning hit a tree that was right next to the car. And they actually saw the tentacles of lightning come out of the storm drain that I was standing right in front of. So it burned up my legs, went inside my body. There's always entrance and exit with lightning. So it had an entrance and an exit. It came out my hand, went into the car, and burned out the wiring system in the car. Time slowed down. And as I was being electrocuted, of course, I was convulsing, standing rigid in the street, bouncing, people said. They actually saw the baseball cap on my hat. I have to wear a hat, cover my head. Pop off like a cartoon. Still have a mark on the top of my head from the little beanie on the baseball cap. Melted out the wiring in the car. And yeah, so I had enough time while I was being electrocuted to think, well, but I'm wearing sandals. I should, how come this electricity can crawl up my legs like this? And I also realized if it continued, I wouldn't survive. Thank God I put my son in the car, because inside he was insulated. He was protected, although he saw it all happen. And lightning doesn't last that long. The convulsions, the spasming continues because the muscles are reacting to it. But it stopped. It threw me. I flew, they said, like a missile in the air, landed on my head. And I woke up, I don't know how long later, a few minutes, I suppose, deep in water in the middle of a huge storm. Hail, rain, wind. It was really a bad storm. It actually took the ambulance almost 45 minutes to get there because roads were closed. They couldn't get through. I was in rough shape for a long time after that. They took us to the hospital. They didn't know what to do with us because so many people don't survive. They don't really know how to treat you if you do. They released us after about 6 hours. We made the evening news and the front page of the newspaper. Next day, car didn't work. They sent us back to drive home. I shouldn't have driven in the first place and couldn't have. But the car didn't work anyway because it was out of commission. People took us home. The next morning, I felt like, I don't know, 100 dump trucks drove over me. Everything hurt. I called my insurance company because at the time, the insurance I had would only cover you for emergency room visit if you called them within 24 hours. Somehow I had the wherewithal to do that. When they heard the story, they insisted I go back to the emergency room. And when my insurance company wanted me to go back to the emergency room, I knew something serious was wrong. So we went back again. They didn't really know what to do. More tests, sent us home. And I struggled for about 9 months after that with chronic pain in my back, really serious memory loss, and wondering what had happened to me, how I was different. I knew something was different, wasn't sure what it was. I knew I'd come close to death and survived it. Some say, oh, you should play the lottery. I said, I think I already won the lottery. I'm still here. And then David Quigley, who's a regression therapist, hypnotherapist from California, I had him scheduled at my center to present a workshop called Somatic Healing. So he came in to do that. Yeah, it's fabulous, isn't it? So he came and he used me as his demonstration because he saw I was really struggling. And he took me back to a few moments before the lightning strike and regressed me through that in slow motion, actually. And it was during that where a couple things happened. One was the trauma that I was carrying in my body, the back pain, memory loss. He was able to have me welcome the lightning rather than resist it and release the trauma that was held in the body.
Wow.
And that's when I remembered leaving my body and going home. And a few really profound things happened during that time. One was experiencing complete and unconditional love. We can talk about it, we can strive for it, but I was immersed in that. And it wasn't a concept any longer, but an experience. And I feel like I carry that within me? Am I always able to be unconditionally loving? No, I have a human body, mind, and ego, and that gets in the way sometimes. But I know that experience, and I carry it within me. I
Wow.
also had I also had the experience of becoming one with all things. I had a sense of self, but I felt as though I was part of everything. Again, you can read the concept of oneness or we are one, but I know that experience. It's not an idea or something I read in a book. It's something that really transformed me. I
And
also,
most Well, most people talk about that once they've had that kind of experience, there's no fear of death.
right. I think the dying part, there's still fear of. I mean, the
Oh,
way
yeah,
I
yeah.
went was really painful. And so, but being dead part is great. It's better than being alive in some ways. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And so it was really after that experience that I began to search for ways to have someone who was in my office, in my chair, have that kind of transformational experience. And I didn't know how to do it. I was doing past life regression, and somehow that was close, but not quite there. And it wasn't until 2001 when I saw Michael Newton at the very first Life Between Life Regression training do a live demonstration on someone of LBL. And I said, that man figured out how to do this. He figured out how to get past the death scene in the past life into spirit, where we spend lots of time before we reincarnate. And he developed a process to take people there so they didn't have to have this near-death experience. And so I trained with that. I began to practice it and never looked back. That was, for me, the most rewarding work that I've ever done and continue to do.
Wow. Okay, we're going to talk about that in just a moment, but I want to say hello to some of the people. So I think we already said Natalie, Lasinia, hi. Ula, hi. Marty, she said something. Welcome, Marty, and welcome all of you. Watching EMTs work on you is a very centering experience.
Yeah, yeah,
She,
absolutely. Marty and everyone else listening, I'm involved in a research project with a cardiologist up in Canada. Actually, in 3 weeks' time, I'll be back up there again. And we have 20 patients who had sudden cardiac arrests and were all revived, some within a minute. And the longest one was over an hour before she was revived.
and they can all talk and communicate and everything.
So in regression, we're taking them back to just before the heart attack, and they're remembering what it was like to then leave their body, to follow the body on the stretcher in the ambulance, to have doctors put them in coma so they could be on a respirator and still be aware, very conscious of what was being said and what was being done. It's absolutely amazing work. And for many of them, the sort of unprocessed piece is, well, why did they come back? Why did they come back into their body? Why are they still alive? Why were they resuscitated successfully? And in the regression, they're often remembering what it is they came back to do.
Oh, yeah. I know. I'm in the middle of reading Second Sight by Judith Orloff, and she's a renowned intuitive, but she had a near-death experience where she remembered the experience while it was happening and went and somehow survived a very major car crash. And that's what I read a lot about near-death experiences that people experience. But I have not even thought about utilizing hypnosis if they almost died and then finding out. So, and finding out why you came back, that's big. That can
Yeah.
be so healing.
Yeah. So in August of this year, I'll go back again to the IANS conference. That's International Association of Near-Death Studies. And they have a few hundred people who gather that are either researchers or experiencers. And this year it's going to be in Pennsylvania. And I'll present video and the study that we were doing with these cardiac arrest patients. Fascinating stories. I mean, to hear a guy that he was a minor, no medical knowledge, describe in great detail how they use the defibrillator on his body and how he's hovering above it. And when they shock him, he goes back down into the body. They get a pulse, and then they lose the pulse. He floats out of his body. They shock him again. He describes exactly where they put them. Most people don't know. One goes on the side, one goes on the chest. And then after the second time, where it was unsuccessful, the two EMTs sort of look at each other and have a discussion about whether or not they're going to make a third attempt. And he's trying to say, do it, do it, do it. They do it a third time, and he's back into his body. Although it's very interesting, loosely connected. It's not in or out. It's kind of a coming in and floating out and back in again.
So do you think that we leave our bodies in situations like that so that we don't have to experience the trauma?
Yeah, I think that as a hypnotherapist or as a trauma therapist, you're often experiencing people that are dissociated to a certain degree. They're more or less present in their body. And when they experience fear, or when we experience fear, one of the common strategies is to leave. If I'm not present, it can't hurt me. And we withdraw from our body to a greater or lesser degree. I think oftentimes what we need to do as hypnotherapists is the opposite of hypnosis. We need to have someone become more present in their body. And so, yeah, I think in doing regression work, what I see is that when someone, say the car is speeding towards the telephone pole, and the driver says, the soul says, I don't really want to be present for these next few moments as this car crashes into the pole. And out of body doesn't mean they're dead or zombie or unconscious. They're just disconnected. And then the accident can occur. And yeah, the soul may or may not come back in, or it may come back in partially. I think often something we're working with after there's been trauma is doing what I call reincarnation, getting the soul back into the body more fully when it's pulled out after trauma.
Interesting. I feel like that, I call them soul fragments. And yeah, I always have them when we cut the cords, do soul fragments, bring the soul fragments back. Very interesting. So trauma, any trauma in this life, growing up, we may have disassociated or left a little part of us outside of ourselves?
Yeah, I think so. For a long time, I don't think I understood it doing regression therapy, but doing both childhood, womb, and past life, I thought, well, because I think pretty linearly, right? So I thought we're going back in time to some incident and we're resolving it. So there's some healing that occurs. But the more I did it, I looked at it and said, I don't think it's just remembering what happened. I think there's actually a part of us, say part of our consciousness, if you will, that still resides back there in that trauma, in that situation. And we're going back and not just remembering, but we're reclaiming that part of ourself that's stuck back there. In a shamanistic terminology, you would call it soul retrieval. And I think that's why it's therapeutic, is that you're reclaiming and reintegrating parts of yourself, your consciousness that's back there, reliving or stuck in the past. So you're becoming more whole again. Yeah. It's far more than historical review.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is so fascinating, and I have a lot of questions about that. But we got to continue on. I wrote down some questions. So is there anything else important about your research that you want to highlight right now before we get into something else?
Well, I guess two things. One is that it's interesting to have the concept of reincarnation or soul or continuation of consciousness after the body is gone. This research shows us without a doubt that when a person is brain dead, when the heart is not functioning, when they're certified dead, there's still consciousness. There's still awareness that goes beyond the human body. And so whatever name you want to give to that, whether you want to call it soul or consciousness or whatever, we are immortal. We survive our bodies. Our consciousness continues. And hearing people describe it where it's not a belief or a religious concept, but an experience is very powerful and transformational. And the other really important thing is we can think of ourselves as our bodies or our minds, especially our egos, and we're much, much more than that. And the work I love doing the most is helping people move beyond the ego mind, reconnect with the heart, the feelings, the emotions, and not stopping there. There's a big momentum around the world about listen to your heart, and I honor that and respect that, and it's a powerful first step out of the mind. But you have to keep going beyond the heart. You have to connect with the soul, with the inner wisdom. Remember who you are and be that. And that's the favorite work I love doing.
So when you do that, are you taking them to the womb and then a past life, or between lives, or all of the above?
There are different ways to access that. And later in the show, or maybe even soon in the show today, I'd like to guide people on that journey.
Yes. Oh, cool. All right. Wonderful. Let me get to some of the people. So Marty said something, maybe more accurately, we chose for me to go back. I know why I'm here. Remember the decision clearly. No doubt of unconditional love and no fear of death.
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks,
yeah.
Marty.
And that's the difference between thinking and knowing. She knows.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. And then Teresa, welcome, Teresa Divine Warmack, and Patricia. Hi, welcome everybody. So glad you guys are here. And if you're loving this, send some more bubbles across the screens, hit the love and like, and continue sharing, because a bunch of people have been sharing. That's awesome. I know that I think I want to talk about the benefits really quickly. And then let's get you to take us through that experience. I wondered about the benefits, the top, 5 or 10 benefits of taking people to the womb and past lives and life between lives.
I'll talk about the 3 most important. First is we all carry stored feelings, emotions from the past, childhood, womb, past life. And we carry those either in our soul, our subconscious mind, our body, or sometimes in our conscious mind. And those stored feelings and emotions definitely influence how we live in the world. Those feelings get triggered. It's not about the immediate experience, but it's about the past experience. And so going back to those, releasing them, resolving them is so important. The next is whenever we have a strongly emotionally charged experience, we form a belief. It's my fault, it's your fault, the world is scary, I can't trust men, whatever. We have many, many beliefs that mostly live in our deeper mind, our subconscious mind, but they live in our soul also. So with hypnotherapy, we're often resolving them in the subconscious mind, but I say you have to go deeper and resolve it in the soul. When something happened to you in a past life, you were wrongly accused and killed for it. That made you feel a certain way. You formed certain beliefs. And the third thing is the survival strategy. What did you learn to do back there to stay safe and to get love? That's such a driver in all of our lives. Those are the sort of magic 3, if you will, that I think parts therapy, regression therapy, NDE regression, Life Between Lives Regression helps us go back, find the source of, and have a higher perspective of it so we can make a new choice. We're not stuck with those. You can go back, you can look at them, and you can resolve them. And I think we all have to. That's part of our evolution as spiritual beings living in human bodies.
Yeah, and this is the amazing benefit of hypnotherapy, because we have access to all of this through it. Oh my God, I love your work. So Glow Herod said, I don't remember anything. And then Patricia, she said, Paul, let's see, love to know of a source linked to information on what you said about soul or presence still there even when brain dead.
Yeah. So you can look at the IANDS website, iands.org, IANDS.org. There's some on my YouTube channel. I have some video of Life Between Life and NDE regressions that I've done, where people describe the similarity, or where you can see the similarities between the near-death regression and the Life Between Life regression, people reporting many of the same things. And at the University of Virginia, Department of Perceptual Studies, DOPS, I've worked with some of those folks down there. They're sitting on over 30 years of near-death and past life research that really proves consciousness continues after the body dies. Yeah, they have great papers, very scientific. I did regressions for some of the people down there because they're academics, they're researching it, but never had the personal experience.
And I belong to Gaia, Gaia TV, and so I love learning. Sometimes at night I'll pop on one of those amazing videos, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, that's Sophia. Wait, that's Paul. You guys were interviewed. And it was the best. It was really fun seeing you guys and all your brilliant work there.
That film is called Flipside by Rich Martini, and it's on Gaia. It's also available on Amazon.
Nice.
Fascinating. And that is a live demonstration I did of Life Between Life regression as well as interviews with a lot of top people in the field.
Which, I guess why I brought it up at that moment was because helping people understand that consciousness still exists and we don't actually die. We just, our bodies do. Is healing, is heartwarming. It can really help us when we have to deal with so much death in this life. And it just, as I get older, it keeps happening more and more people. And so holding on to that helps a little bit. And glow. So the point that you didn't remember everything, the beauty of it is your subconscious, your soul remembers it. And with hypnotherapy, you can remember.
Yeah.
All right. So Patricia said, this is so fascinating. So great. If you guys are doing stuff, it's time to stop what you're doing because Paul's going to take us through a really cool, wonderful healing process. You take it over, Paul.
Okay. So one of the most important things I think for people to understand about hypnosis is that it's quite different than what most people think it is. I like to talk about it in terms of being expanded consciousness. One of the main things about hypnosis is that it helps the analytical mind, the mental mind, step back, not go to sleep or disappear, but release its grip. And as that mental mind steps back, it releases or gives access more to subconscious mind. And as we dive deeper, then we reach superconscious mind or soul mind. And so I want to take you through a process today that is in the book I'm working on, should be out in about a year.
Good.
Called Essential Healing. And so if you would get comfortable sitting or lying down, you just let your eyes close. And you want to take a few longer and deeper, nice letting go breaths. Beginning a process of relaxing both mind and body. Beginning a process of turning inward and allowing consciousness to expand. And now just take a moment to begin to observe your thoughts. Just notice what it is that you hear your mind saying to you. Don't have to do anything about it, just observe it. And generally you'll hear one of three things. Either it's quiet, pleasantly quiet, because you're not trying to quiet it, you're just observing it. Or perhaps it's assisting you. It's saying something like, relax, or you can do this. Or perhaps it has a concern. I know when I first began my inner soul work, my mental mind was worried about letting go, that something bad might happen. That was a bit surprising, but I just acknowledged my mind's willingness to protect me and keep me safe. And I reassure it and tell it this is important for me for it to relax and back off, to let go. Not go far, but just release. And then I bring my attention to the center of my chest. I actually often place my hand right there on my heart center. Not the organ, but the center of feelings and emotions. And I breathe and feel into this heart. And I invite you to do this as well. Invite your heart to open as you breathe into it, for the heart is really the doorway to your inner world. And you want to open it up enough that you can go into it. You don't have to open it for me or for anyone else, but open that heart and breathe and feel into it. And as you do that, you will notice that there are some feelings, some emotions that will begin to come up to the surface. Now, if that heart is protected by a substantial heart protection, you need to find a way in, through, or around it. But as that heart opens and those feelings come, just breathe into them. Notice, what do you feel as your heart opens and as you go in? The mind judges feelings: good feeling, bad feeling, right feeling, wrong feeling, should have this feeling, shouldn't have that feeling. But feelings are just feelings. They can come and they can go. So as you open your heart, notice what you feel. Perhaps many feelings. And now you're ready to begin that journey deeper within. You're going to dive to the very core of your being, through all of the layers of protection, deeper and deeper within. Through all the different roles that you've played, past all of the things that people said or did to you, past all of the things that you came to believe of yourself deeper and deeper, until perhaps you come upon the younger you, the child self, the inner child. Perhaps the wise and wonderful child. Perhaps the wounded child. But as you dive in, allow yourself to make contact with this younger you. Perhaps this one is in need of being held and loved and protected. Perhaps this one has some wise words, some encouragement for you. Hand in hand with this younger you, you dive deeper to the very core of your being, to your very soul essence, that authentic you that perhaps some time ago was put away for safekeeping, hidden, like a buried treasure deep within. This wise and wonderful you, your soul essence, go all the way to the very core of your being until you can once again see, feel, experience your soul essence. Call it forward. Notice how it feels to be in its presence. If perchance you have difficulty finding it, know that it's there, just hidden, protected perhaps. Invite it forward. Notice how it feels to be in its presence. Observe it as it grows, bigger, brighter, until it envelops you, until you become one with it. For it, this soul essence, is who you truly are. Allow your breath to be the invocation, the invitation to this inner light, this inner flame, this inner you to come forward, to fill you, to fill your heart, your chest, your body, your being, so that it radiates beyond the bounds of the meat and bones of your body, so that you express this soul essence in your thoughts, your words, your deeds, your actions, your home, your life, so that you recognize this within those with whom you come into contact. Feel it, alive, pulsing, dancing awake in you. And reconnect with this every day. And reconnect with this in others every day. And feeling your feet on the floor, and the chair or couch or floor beneath you. Grounding in your body, feeling this more expanded awareness. When you're ready, allowing your eyes to come open once again. Remembering who you are and being that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I speak for everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's an honor. It's so beautiful.
And Margarita from Sweden. Hello from Sweden. Welcome. Wow, I loved that, but I've always loved your work. Always.
We have a 2-day workshop that we do of this essential healing. And we begin that workshop with this exercise, and then we go through the layers one by one over the 2 days. And at the end, we do it again because it's much more easily accessible after that work. We do it in Italy in July and a few other times. It's work I love the most, really.
Yeah. Oh, I've gotten little tastes at the conferences of it.
Yep.
So let's talk about that. If people wanted to experience that, whether a training, or I don't know if you still do private sessions, how can people get a hold of you to learn more from you?
Yeah, I do private sessions, mostly in my office in Manhattan. but I travel and teach a lot. We run courses. We do a summer school in Italy, hypnotherapy, regression therapy, and essential healing workshop. And I run the course as well in New York in September and November. And there's a lot of information on my website, that's my email, paulaurand.com is the website. And on YouTube, there's a lot of free stuff there.
Oh, cool. All right. So you guys, I encourage you very much. If you liked learning from Paul today and that experience, then I encourage you to learn more, to contact him, and have more amazing soul connecting experiences so you can remember who you are and be that. That's a quote from Paul. So wonderful. We've got a few people. Teresa says, thank you.
More than welcome.
Yeah. Well, okay. So if you want to learn more, I do a lot of what Paul does, definitely differently. But you can contact me. I have a couple of trainings coming up, and I'm offering a $50 savings for any service with me to do a self-hypnosis seminar, or even to become a hypnotist, or just private stuff, so that you can feel good now and remember who you are. I also have to share with you next week's guest. We have someone who overcame Lyme's disease. It's a long journey, and she's going to be sharing with us how to overcome chronic pain and Lyme's disease. And she is her name is Crystal Martin, and she's a massage therapist, a Reiki master, and the owner of Labrie Medi Spa, which is actually in Northwest Indiana. So that's always Tuesdays at noon for now, although that could change, noon Central Time. So Paul, you've been an amazing guest. Thank you. So can you say the website one more time, please?
paulaurand.com.
That's it, just as easy, paulaurand.com. Yeah. And you can find me at randylight.org. Or you can just put people's names in, and you can connect with us on Facebook if you want to know more. Barbara says, thank you. Wonderful to hear your voice again. Blessings.
Oh, Barbara. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, you guys. Thank you, Paul. I just love everything you've shared. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you guys next Tuesday on the show. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.